Hey, it's been a while. I've been kind of avoiding, well, let's just say I know I need to make this video, but I've been kind of avoiding it. It seems like it would be really easy for a INTJ to make a ENTJ versus INTJ video, but I sat down and I started thinking about some stuff and I was like, oh, I think this is going to be harder than I thought. So bear with me. I'm going to try to watch my time today. And I'm gonna try to explain some things, but this is not gonna be easy for me. I think because there's a lot of preconceived notions, because an ENTJ and INTJ are sibling types. A lot of people think of them as very similar, but they are, if you're not around them a lot, or experienced that, or you're not one, you know, it looks a whole lot more similar on paper. I'll just be frank with you. In person, it can look very different, and I know this for a fact because I have a number of ENTJ friends and acquaintances, so I have dealt with this, and I see the differences in how we approach things, and but they're not bad differences. It's good differences. It's just different. Before I want to get into this, though, I want to say something really quick. I think what I want to get across in this video is that a lot of things that are labeled as negative, the way ENTJs aren't necessarily always negative. Every personality type has something that is negative. I will agree with that, but the differences here, or the things that are labeled as negative, could potentially, if we look at it in a different perspective, have some positives to add to the world, and maybe we need to start looking at them in a different light. And I came to this conclusion after I started thinking about this type a lot and hearing a lot of what people were saying about them, and a lot of people have a lot of negative lists. And even my own list, when I sat down, I was reading over it and I was like, oh, this could seem very negative, but I don't look at it as necessarily negative. It's different, and it's not a bad different, personally, in my opinion. So I hope that you walk away with that same impression. At least I hope. Okay, so let's jump into this quick. ENTJ versus INTJ. So they are an extroverted, intuitive, thinking judger. So not very different than me. Just extroverted versus introverted. That's what everybody says. But it is the functions underneath. If you don't know, if you haven't delved too much into the functions, that's okay. I'm just going to list them off real quick. So they have TE, which is their extroverted thinking, so they lead with that, and I and INTJ lead with NI, which is introverted intuition. So we lead, and then jump down, it switches. So their next function is introverted intuition, and mine is extroverted thinking. And then they have SE, which is extroverted sensing, and I have FI, which is introverted feeling. And then again, it flip-flops. So they have FI, introverted feeling, as their very last function. And I have SE, which is extroverted sensing. Most people call, inferior function or whatever. At least, yeah, I think that's what it is. So this is going to be my perspective on what it's like as an INTJ to interact with an ENTJ, and what I see as our differences. So I want to say the first thing first is that can differentiate us. If you're trying to differentiate whether someone's an INTJ or an ENTJ, is they prefer leading. Think of them as the person on the mountaintop, the commander, the in-charge person, the person who has this organization going, who doesn't mind being out in the front, taking all the bullets. They will always be grabbing things by the horns. They will, yeah, very different than me, which would be someone who prefer being, in a back room, strategizing, and not necessarily interacting so much with my exterior world. I think I'm more worried about what's going on up here. They're more worried about what's being played out here. And that is due to the difference in extroversion and sensing, the SE. So yeah, that plays a very big difference, and we'll continue to talk about that as we go down the line. Another thing that is different for us, and again, it's because those functions are flipped, I would say all NT types have a different way of expressing emotion. That's how I like to say it. People say they have no emotions. It's just different, okay? And that's okay. I would say I think they just deep down inside do have an emotional struggle, maybe even more than I do. I see that in different situations. It's very glaring, especially if you're talking about an immature or young ENTJ. They can act pretty, what's the word for it? They can act pretty bizarre in some situations, emotional situations. They'll do some really weird stuff, and people will be a little bit shocked, and they'll come back the next day, and everybody will be like, you know, what happened? What was wrong? And they act like everything's normal. So they just have a very, very different way of handling things, and some people might call it not handling emotions. I don't think I would go there. I would just say, because I can be similar to them, I would say it's just different. I don't have as much of an overwhelm. I don't get so overwhelmed with emotions. I do, but not to that extent. I can handle a little bit more, and I can try to hide stuff a little bit more. So yeah, they struggle there. But then, because of the flip of the FISE, their sensing is SE is way higher for them. And I would say a lot of ENTJs I've seen, some that are really struggling and people would say have negative downsides that they're showing, are ones who are stuck in an SE loop. And they're stuck in that because my computer is acting up. Come on. Okay. Hopefully it stops. It's almost like a default for them when they struggle with their introverted intuition, or when they try to avoid it completely for whatever reason, they will instantly jump into SE, and they will like want to live there, and they will always strive for SE because of the place it's in their function stack. Or myself, I could really do without. Like, it's something I'm just so blind to, and like it's such an immature function for me, that, and I just don't like too much sensing overload. I've always been, although I'll have to say I do put up with a lot. I have been very trained, I guess you could say, to put up with that. I mean, I grew up in a family that is Cuban, and I grew up in a predominantly, almost completely Hispanic community, so they were always pushing me to be louder, more expressive, to like be it. I always got picked on for not being in the real world, get out of your head, so they were always pushing me that way. So I can maybe have a bigger tolerance level, and I've noticed that other IN types, I've noticed have a really low tolerance level, and it's funny because naturally inside I think I probably do, but I've gained a tolerance level for that. So, but I don't love it, you know. I think amusement parks way over the top. Like, I can't, that kind of overload is just like too much for me. On the other hand, they will seek out things like that more probably than, I don't know, I might begin to say more than the other intuitive, or not intuitive, the other NT types. I don't know. I think that is a very high possibility. And like I said, they can get stuck in that loop. And it is a self-destructive loop for them. The ENTJs I've known of that come across more negatively to people are the ones that are stuck in the SE loop. The ones that are in more in touch with their NI, their introverted intuition, have a lot more positive impact on people. So take that as a, for what, for whatever it's worth. They are super goal oriented, and that's funny is because I'm very goal oriented too, but sometimes I can fall down when it comes to actually realizing that goal, bringing it into the real world. And I've seen this with other INTJs and ENTJs. I've seen ENTJs be very successful in the outside world, and other INTJs have really good ideas, but they didn't necessarily ever carry them out. They were okay with having a more relaxed perspective of like, hey, I don't know, I had this great idea, we'll just leave it at that. So there's some of that going on. Yeah, there just is. And that is an area that I'm probably pretty jealous of them about. Actually, I should say very jealous. Because, see it from my perspective. They are good at carrying out what they put into their head they're going to do. And I always struggle at that step. So yeah, they're a lot stronger than me at that step. And, yeah, maybe I'll get better at it someday. They are forward-thinking types. But I don't think they try to get their glass ball out as much. I would say an INTJ prides themselves, and I can say this honestly because I have this issue on, predicting, connecting obscure things in the future, and ENTJ will do that to an extent, but they only do it as far as it seems practical to them at the moment. So they're good at just stepping away from that, not having to live in that prediction mode all the time, where myself, I don't. And because they don't live in that all the time, they're always trying to make these super accurate predictions. Their predictions might not be as accurate as an INTJ's predictions, but they're just not as involved in it. And I think that's, again, tracing back to, I think that's why they get way more accomplished in the real world, is because they are, like I said, taking the bull by the horns. They're willing to experiment in the real world more, and we just only want to do it in our heads, and that only gets you so far. That only, builds so much. That only, takes you further down the path. You can, come across roadblocks and just sit there and not do anything, and that happens all the time. I think something I want to touch on that I don't think a lot of people talk about with ENTJs is they have a really soft core. And it is going to be really hard for people to imagine, but they do. They have some weird, odd, sentimental things, and they have some people that they really go out on a limb for. Sorry. And they can be known as, secret humanitarians. They will invest and put blood, sweat, and tears into causes and things that, maybe a NF type could not imagine or believe they would do. But I know personally, I've seen it over and over again. It's like a pattern with them. They don't wear it on their forehead. They don't wear it on their sleeve. And because of their more hard exterior, people can't imagine them being any other way. But they are often play out that way. And I wish it was something that some people notice more, because I've noticed ENTJs in my life that have gotten beat up by the crowd more, or those people were the ones who couldn't see what that ENTJ was doing behind the scenes. And sometimes I just wanted to be like, you guys don't even understand how ungrateful you're being. You have no clue what goes on behind the scenes. You have no clue what this person is, picking up for you, holding you basically up in this whole organization or whatever it was. How this person cares for the poor, the sick, the elderly, the orphans, the homeless, whatever. They just didn't, they didn't see it. All they could see was this whatever. They want to paint out this awful human being, and I've seen that play out over and over again, and I think it's really sad. I just really do, and I wish people knew more or kept in mind more what actually goes on there. They are brilliant entrepreneurs. Like I said, I've seen this over and over again. They just seem to have a business mind. You could give them a rock and they can make a business. And not just a business, because there's lots of entrepreneurs out there of different personality types. They will make the best business, and it will have the best quality, and it will have the most amazing network. They are just brilliant strategizers when it comes to a big scale project like that. Like I said, they're standing up on a mountain. They can see what's going on, and they can line all their ducks up in a row, and they take it to a whole new level. I mean, there's businesses that I have started and things that I have done, but I've never reached the success, I've never reached the success that they have. They will push people, and this is what people have issues with. They will push people hard, but they also push, believe it or not, they push themselves just as hard, and they judge themselves just as hard as they judge other people. So they are not above the I'm better than, like, they're not the I'm above, I'm better than you. They might think that or come across that way, but like, they have insecurities and they're pushing themselves just as hard. And that is kind of similar to INTJ'S to an extent. I might not push myself or push other people as hard. One really weird thing I've noticed with them is they won't discount people as quickly. And that's what's weird. Like, both of us discount people. Like, we'll just, like, and again, this isn't negative. It's just, like, you see a certain kind of person or a certain situation, and you're just like, ugh, I don't want to get involved with that or that person. Come on. Okay, computer's acting up. You just see something negative in a situation or a person, and I will just quickly write people off and just avoid. I've heard many of them say before, and it's so funny because I've heard the same thing from multiple different ones. They always say, I'm a person of second chances. I will give you 2 chances. So I hate to say this, but I tend to give people like 1 chance. And I'm trying to work on that. But I do struggle with that. And so sometimes they seem more gracious than me, which I know that will blow some people's minds. But they will, maybe, I think it's because they're more of an extroverted person. They like dealing with people more, maybe just because it's people. Like, not that they're like super people person, because they're more of like an introverted extrovert, but they are more willing to stick it out with people than I am. I'm just like, I'll just go somewhere else by myself and try it by myself. So yeah, they're willing to stick it out a little bit more. They depend on a functioning team that is competent and not lazy. That is one thing that will really drive them up a wall. If they're head of an organization or, military strategy or like company or whatever they're ahead of, they are really going to struggle when they have people that they know aren't being competent and they know are purposely being lazy. And they will really struggle with having grace for those people. And yeah, they depend on a good team, and they will do anything they can to make that team. But yeah, it's hard to find people who are willing to work hard and be competent and not to take the easy path, so they're going to struggle trying to build a team. Deep down inside, and they'll probably hate me for saying this, but INTJs despise rejection, but they really, really despise rejection. They will get very elaborate and creative with plans and ways to avoid rejection. And I noticed this in them because it can be very glaring, and plus I deal with this myself. So rejection is a really, really big thing for them. Yeah, if you want an ENTJ on your side, you just have to be careful. They're extremely self-confident, extremely strong-willed. It's like coming up against it. If you've ever been in meetings with them before or making decisions, it can get pretty heated, and it's a little bit their way or the highway. That really rubs some people the wrong way. It doesn't bother me sometimes because a lot of times I agree with their strategy or whatever they want to do, but I could see if you have a completely different mindset, that is going to really rub you the wrong way. They are really into cultivating a bigger than life image. They strongly believe in dressing for that image, dressing for success. They will go out of their way for that. And it's funny because I can be like that a little bit, but they take it to a whole new level, and it's like their clothes become an extension of their being. It's like it's very classy, very professional, suave, borderline expensive, very much that way, because they see it as necessary for their leadership. Yeah, it's a necessary in their mind. Like I said, I'm a little similar that way, so I can see where they're coming from. They can be very charismatic and inspiring, and they can draw a lot of people to them, but they will struggle because they'll realize they have a lot of acquaintances but not a lot of close friends. A lot of people will like them for a period of time and get fed up about something about them, or they'll put them on a pedestal or whatever it is. And they can draw a lot of enemies too. It can go both ways, but they are known for being very charismatic. And some people cannot handle their impatience or what's perceived as arrogance, which again, it's not all complete arrogance. Sometimes it's a protective mechanism. Again, I can say this from personal experience. Like I said, there's a lot of things that I can see where they're coming from, but there are ways that we are different, or maybe different levels of something. Something they will do is they will cut losses if they see a relationship or a connection or anything that's stagnant and not going anywhere. They will just up and leave. And it's the same, like I was saying earlier about their emotional state. They will just up and leave a situation. It's the way they operate. I don't understand it completely. I can cut and run. Help me on my computer. I can cut and run too, but they're willing to give. Yeah, I don't know. They do it very blatantly. They believe in consistent and constant improvement. That's something that I can say, yes, I'm there, I do that. But their consistent improvement might seem more successful because it's more outward. It can be seen by people more, maybe, than my more mental state. They are not really into getting bogged down by details. They are a judging type, yes, but they will not, when they have a big vision or a big plan, they will not let people who are always blinded by all the details get in the way. And I've seen that play out. They'd rather try to figure it out along the way. Not that they don't care about details, but they just I care a little too much about details, they are less caring, and so then they can push ahead on something where I'm stuck in the planning phase. They've already moved on to the, make it happen phase. So that's a big difference there. They have a more, and this will frustrate some types, they have a more shallow and social way of attaining information. And I don't know how to explain this. You kind of have to know what I'm talking about. They just, they don't necessarily need these systematic ways of attaining information. If it comes to them and they, run it through their system and they say, this is a good idea, or this is a good plan, or this is an interesting fact, it just gets lumped onto everything else. They don't necessarily need this like detailed, tear it apart. That I know some other types that maybe are more introverted, maybe more, I don't know, need processes. I guess they need. They are extremely, extremely very efficient, very effective people. Efficiency, efficiency, efficiency. I like efficiency, but they take it to a whole new level. So sometimes they can come across as very excitable and bombastic because they're trying to reach that goal, reach that plan, and let's do this the best way possible, and everyone's dragging their feet. And so they'll come in, they'll swoop in, whether it's a school project, whether it's a company, whether, a job, anything that it's supposed to get done, they will come in and they'll grab the reins and they will lead it out. And people, so many times I've heard classmates and employees and organization members complain, family members, about annoyance of like, oh, they don't think I'm smart enough, or oh, they didn't think I did a good enough job. And that's always the plan. They just have this goal, this timeline, this goal in mind, and they will throw themselves into it. And, blood, sweat, and tears. They will be the ones that work alongside people and try to get this plan done. And, as I said before, they expect a lot out of other people, but they expect a lot out of themselves too. They're very, very future, like, they're going to be, as I said earlier, they're going to be future oriented, but not to the extent we are. They're going to have very, 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 like, ambitious. Like, they're going to be very ambitious, and that will rub people the wrong way. But you know what? That is not always a bad thing. That is a positive. That is positive. We need more ambition. We need more dreams. We need more drive. We need more of that in the world, and they definitely have that going for them. So yes. They are social introverts, and I want to touch on this really quick. They are social introverts, but it's really weird because at one moment you can think of them as so extroverted, and like I said, because they're like so energetic and they're so bombastic, but sometimes they can seem really quiet, and some people can think, I don't really know a lot about that person. They can quietly sit in a room and listen to a conversation. Sometimes they will get in a heated debate, sometimes they will not. It depends on the situation, the timing, if they feel like if they're, have some knowledge on the subject, whatever. So sometimes you'll see them sitting by, sometimes you'll see them in the middle. So that's gonna be hard for some people to figure out, are they really introverted, are they really extroverted, like what's going on here? So I hope that this helps. I went way over on time. And as I said, this was really hard for me to do. I'll say this quickly, I've had really positive experiences with ENTJs on a pretty regular basis. I've occasionally had some issues with ones that were maybe considered younger or more mature. So that can be a struggle. I will be honest with that. Yeah, it's not always easy. It isn't, but it's a very valuable personality to our world, and I just want everyone to know that. Thanks.